I remember, well, once again, I'm back talking about awareness, which is the kind of awareness I'm talking about is, like I've said before, not just this sitting here looking at you, you looking at me and talking. It's a different kind of awareness, and it's very hard to talk about, but I'm going to keep plugging on here. I'm talking about, well, I'll give some examples. When I was a little girl, I remember, you know, we all have childhood memories. And when I was a little girl, I think I must have been around 7 or 8, I remember clearly going to the drugstore, back then that's what we did, and bought a fudge-sickle. And it was a nickel. It was a long time ago. And I came home, and it was, you know, by the time I got home, I wanted to wait till I got home because I wanted to sit in my favorite spot on the porch and eat it. So I got home, and I unwrapped it, and it was practically melted. And I remember eating that fudge-sickle, and I remember it running down my arm. I remember licking my arm, and, you know, it was just delicious. And I have that memory to this day, and it's been a long time ago since that happened. But I remember, and, you know, memory is imperfect, but I still remember as a child how I felt back then. And I didn't have an overly happy childhood, but that was a particularly happy memory for me. I felt content. I felt, it was a simple life. It was a little simple life. And that little girl is still with me. I'm still very much that little girl. Except, you know, like all of us, I've become complex because of all the things that have happened to me over all these years. I've gotten complicated. But, you know, that little girl is still very much there, and I think that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to that point to tell you about that place in you that is still the small child, still the little simple consciousness, still the little simple awareness. That the things that happen to you during all the, you know, the things that have happened to you, if you've been divorced, if you've had financial problems, if you've been in an accident, if you've had horrendous things happen to you, you know, on the outside layer, so to speak, there's still that little awareness is still with you. That simplicity is still with you. You are not the things that have happened to you so much as you are the constant of that simple awareness that was born from your mother years ago. It's we tend to live from a place of reaction from the conditioning, and you know, you can repeat these things over and over and over again, but it's just really the truth of the matter. We live mostly from our conditioning. We live mostly from reaction. We live mostly from knee-jerk tendencies. This is the way I expect things. We live from our belief systems, whatever that may be. My gosh, you know, that can involve your church you go to, clubs you belong to, where you went to school, what your parents taught you, you know, your peer group, your siblings. We develop belief systems. We develop patterns of thinking and ways of reacting to just our life. And we think that's who we are. And we'll die for a belief, for instance. I mean, we will die for a belief system. People do it all the time. So wars are fought over. And yet, the gift that we have, the gift of that birth of consciousness, that beam of light, that energy that we are, that we actually are. And God knows where that comes from. Nobody knows. I've said that too. Nobody knows where that wonderful gift, that first spark of consciousness comes from. We take it for granted because it's just, you know what, it's just there. But it's a gift. It's truly miraculous, that spark of consciousness that we are. And we ignore it. We just ignore it. And what I'm trying to tell you, and I believe with all my heart, is the more you can touch that simplicity, that simple childlike awareness, that original you, the more you can touch that, the more you give it strength, the more you give it light, then it becomes more of what you really are. In effect, what you're doing is you're erasing all the stuff that you drag around with you, your bag of stuff. You know, we all have a bag of stuff. It's almost like we carry a big black plastic bag filled with all of this stuff, that's happened to us. And, we pull out this one, we pull out that one, and we just play it over and over and over again. And it creates misery. And there's a way to get out of it. And this is why I'm talking right now. It's trying to help you get out of it. Drop that bag and just be here now with your simplicity. Oh my gosh, I just wish I could find the words, because it's just so valuable. In my own life, I'll just share some of my own stuff here. I'm married, and I have a wonderful husband, but he's just totally opposite of me. We are like black and white. He's very left brain, very computer oriented. I guess we might call him a geek. You didn't hear this. He's a bit of a geek. And I'm kind of the right-brained artist, kind of crazy and zany, as you can probably tell. A little nuts, maybe. And we are often, it's like oil and water, because it's like I say one thing and he goes, just give me the facts, man. Just give me the facts, And I'm like, in fact, it's so funny. He says, I don't want the story. Just give me the headline. And, I want to jump into the story. So we're very different, and we can offend well, at least he can offend me, I guess, more easily than I can offend him, because he's just so always, right on the left brain thing going. So sometimes when I'm brought up abruptly, like, just give me the facts, it flushes over me, and I can go, I want to tell the story, and I can have my feelings hurt, and I can feel frustrated. And I have lots of opportunity, in other words, to stop the machine and wait. Just wait. And when I do that, there's this underlying, and I think that it's incredible. There's this underlying wisdom that's just there. It's not mine. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm really not. But there's an underlying wisdom that lives within us, if we can be still enough, long enough to have it rise to the surface. It tells us what we need to do. And so in my relationship with him, with my husband, I just kind of wait. And I don't attach any stories. I don't attach any of my own stuff to it. I just wait. And, sometimes I wait while I'm working. Sometimes I'm doing something, and and then it just surfaces. And I have just the perfect response, rather than the reaction that I felt like doing, like kicking him, for instance. No, whatever. There's that tendency. But there's a response, and it's a healthier response. And I really believe that, our relationship is a good one, and it's lasted a long time. And I think the reason it has is because I learned how to slow the machine down to some extent, and he's learned how to watch me slow my machine down. So he actually has learned to slow his down. And the two of us are working together, which helps a lot. We both slow the machine down. The reactory, driven, I want my way machine. We're all looking, in a way, for home. We're looking for some place to rest. We're trying to get away from the chaos. And the only way we can do it is through awareness. It's the only way out. And until we work a little harder at stopping the motion of the machine and bringing that awareness to the surface, or allowing it to rise to the surface, we are going to be unhappy. Those of you who are on the spiritual path and want enlightenment, and you have this longing, this yearning for something more, well, this is what you're looking for right here. You're looking for home in the sense that you're looking for a place to return to. The place to return to is right here, right with you. It's not out there. It's right here, so close to you. It's the awareness. It's the recognition of just simply you, here, now, in the ordinariness of now. It's kind of boring for the mind, because the mind wants to find something fancy somewhere, but it's not anywhere. It's right here, right with you, right now, and your choice all the time is to stop and allow it to surface and speak from that instead of that old conditioned reactive behavior. More on this later. Bye.